myself.
Let's go.
And Zaka will come back at some point.
Okay,
I'm here.
awesome.
I'm here.
Oh, he's here.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. I'm here. Don't worry, I'm here.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're super excited to have this webinar going and to introduce the newest Kusini partner from Madagascar, ASISTEN Travel. So today, I have the pleasure of introducing Njaka and Haja, and they'll talk a little bit about their operations and their DMC, as well as just an overview of how Madagascar works and some of the key points of interest for you guys, so that you can kind of get a sense of how to sell it. But more importantly, we really just want you to get connected with Haja and Njaka. They've got a great story and a really good operation. I've had the pleasure of working with them for several years at my previous job. I see some of my former colleagues here on this webinar as well. Hi, guys. And, you know, we're super excited to bring them on board to Kusini because we know that what they can offer your clients in Madagascar is top notch, and it's very similar to the way a lot of our Kusini partners operate. Right, Ted, anything else to add?
No, we're just just second all of that. We're thrilled to have Haja and Njaka with us. They just fit the Kusini mold so well with the owner operated, their travel trade exclusive. And what we love also is it's Malagasy, 100% Malagasy owned, which is really exciting as well. So yeah, and Mark, you know them so well from your days as well previously. So welcome, guys. And yeah, with that, we'll let you kind of take it from here.
Good. So yeah, I'm Haja. In Malagasy we say ads, but I understand it can be a little bit difficult to say. My last name is Rassambainarivo, but just call me Haja. And Njaka is my business partner here. Njaka, would you like to introduce yourself to start with?
If I'm using the same formula, Njaka or Nyaka, or just call me the king, it's okay too. But yeah, thank you. Very thrilled to be here. As I'll leave you the floor for the first slide because you are the one flipping. But yeah,
good.
Thank you, guys.
So maybe we'll start with our respective story and our story together with Njaka. I know Njaka since we were on the benches of secondary school. So we have a long history together. I can call him my business partner. I can call him my best friend. I can call him my brother. Sometimes when we go to trade show, people say, "Where is your twin brother?" But that says a lot about, you know, the chemistry we have in the business and outside the business. Nothing led us to believe that we would have a career in the travel industry. I did my studies in Madagascar. We were both born and raised in Madagascar, educated in Madagascar. We did our university in Madagascar, and we went to Canada to follow our postgraduate studies. I did study mathematics, physics, and computer science, and Njaka studied finance and marketing. So after my studies, I went to work for a nonprofit organization, doing some IT engineering, installing IT systems all over the world, and that's where the passion for travel led me to discover different places all across the globe. And Njaka, maybe you would like to talk about your parcours?
Sure. Thank you, Haja. So I also left Canada in the early 2000s for a master's degree in Eastern Canada at the University of Moncton. This is where I was completely involved in the skincare industries. I was selling soaps. I was selling soap all over Canada. And I went up to Calgary to sell some soaps. It's called Savonnerie Olivier. So I've been to Rendezvous Canada, Bienvenue Quebec, those trade shows in Canada, and of course the Olivier Sopri was also a tourism product at the time. We uh, receive coaches to see and check how the soaps is made, and we were selling the benefits of it. So that was a story that kept me until 2007 in Canada, and this is where I think the story of ASISTEN Travel begins. So as and I, we went on a trip to Madagascar. We have a luggage of on vacation, of course, because we were really coming back to Canada after that, and we had our first trip to our own country. And the story is great because we don't have any background in tourism. We just had a couple of US dollars and Malagasy in our pockets, and then we did an amazing tour from Tana to up to the Tsingy, the geological formation, and we're going to talk about that, up to the south of Madagascar to Liar and Akau. It was a great trip, but it was a chaos in terms of organization. This is where the two of us we said, oh, listen, maybe we need to start a business in travel because we can do this much better, and we can even do this in Canada where we're from. So this is where the idea came, and we put our love money together. We said let's just had a business called ASISTEN Travel. If we talk about ASISTEN as a name, it will be an additional minutes, but we're gonna save you that. So we started that company in 2009, and we are in business since. And very happy to be here. Very happy to be part of the Kusini Collection because we've been asking to be part of that collections for years, and I think we showed good credentials, and we were finally accepted. So that's the story. I think Ajay, we can move up to the next topic.
Yeah, so we are still, 15 years later, we are still the owners of the company. We are still very much involved in the company, day in, day out, designing itineraries, making sure everything goes all right. Obviously, our roles have evolved as the company grew and as our clientele changed. But between 2009 and 2014, we as a very small business, we started doing some B2C. And we had a very natural fit with the North American market because that's the market we know. And we also didn't want to jump into the in shark infested water. You may know, and we will talk about that later. The main tourism industry in Madagascar is essentially catered for French, Italians, and Germans, and we didn't want to jump into that Shark Tank. So we said, okay, well, we know North America. Let's start with that. And in 2014, we made the switch to, and it really came very naturally to go B2B and also tap into the high-end market because we wanted to show that you can travel in good conditions in Madagascar. So we are still very, very, very much involved. We are very reachable. And right before the pandemic, tell me about the great timing. We opened the office in Nusibe. So before that, we were based as a main office in Antananarivo, the capital of Madagascar. And because Nusibe is so important for the tourism industry and for our company, we opened a branch office in Nusibe. We talked earlier about the knowledge of the American market, but I also want to touch on our proximity because that could be very useful to you and for our relationship. Nzaka is mostly based in Antananarivo, the capital of Madagascar, but myself, I spend a good amount of my personal time here in Quebec, Canada, on Eastern Coast. So if you have quick questions, advice you need while the office in Madagascar is already closed or sleeping, you can always reach out to me. So that's big. We feel that that's a very big advantage, and we felt it was really useful to our current partners in North America and even in other regions of the world. Very naturally, for the past 10 years, we've been known as the specialists in terms of luxury travel in Madagascar. We've been handling a good number and very increasing number of VIPs, ultra high net worth clients. And what we like to do and what challenges us the most, and we love those challenges, is to put together the most complex trip. The most complex trip they are, the more excited we are. So that's what we love. We love to push the boundaries of what's possible in Madagascar, obviously within legality and making sure that we remain a responsible company. So what we do offer, white labeling, and we are a full service DMC. Because of the complexity of the destination, we want to make sure that every chain and every piece of the trip is well handled and well coordinated. So we want to make sure, and we offer a single point of contact to make sure that the trip all goes well.
Good.
So Jaka, would you like to talk about our
sure.
team?
One of our USP as well. First of all, you see those beautiful cars. We amongst the very few tourism company that owns their own fleet of vehicles. We currently running a training guide, so we guide training. So we are constantly training our guides with various specialties. We even bring experts from South Africa, have guide exchange with people like Angama to share best guiding practices with our guide. We do have about 30 to 35 guys on rosters, and those are the guys that are going to accompany your guests and your clients throughout Madagascar. The reason why we rely on 4x4 is because Madagascar is a big country. It's as big as Texas. And with very poor infrastructure. So we need 4x4 to be comfortable, and we use those type of minivan as well for packs over 4. But lately, we tend to use 4x4 in order to cater for larger group, because 4x4 goes almost everywhere. Charter companies and helicopters are also one of the key components of our tours, because with them you can almost reach every single destination in Madagascar. We do know that your guests have very limited amount of time. They can't afford to spend 8 hours in a car. So what we do is we send the planes or helicopters ahead, or the cars ahead, and the helicopter can join the crew on the ground. So once on the ground, there's a very dedicated team for your guests. And as you can see, again, on those pictures, very comfortable with white labeling. So we have door magnets for that. I would say the landscape of planes and helicopters are seriously involved since the pandemic. We work with the best and more reliable charter companies that exist in Madagascar, that are used by the mining companies, the World Bank, all those international organizations. And again, we also have a set of vehicles in Nosy. An office in Nosy means cars as well stationed there. The reason why we also take that move is because Nosy is an international airport, and we wanted the level of services to be equal to Antananarivo, where the capital is. So this is also why we have that location in Nosy, and we're also very proud to say that we're the very few that has an office, a real one, in that international airport. With time, also we've got access to, of course, catamaran boats, and yet probably yachts in a very few years. So I'm going to jump on quick facts. I'm going to give us a break, and then it's going to take the next slide. So a little bit of geography, where we are. We're in the middle of the Indian Ocean. We're about 587,000 square kilometers, almost the size of Texas and 2 times Nevada, with a population of nearly 30 millions, a mix of Indo-Malaysian and African descent. And that is one of the biggest component as well of Madagascar. We have 18 tribes, so 18 traits, 18 dialects. It makes it a very diverse country in terms of culturally diverse country. But this is definitely one of our USP. We home to 5% of planet's biodiversity, and almost 90% of what you can see here is endemic to Madagascar. We're not very far from the east coast of Africa. We're 400 kilometers from Africa, being the fourth biggest island, and we're an island. So obviously we have nearly 5,000 kilometers of coastal line, and the various terrains make us a completely a continent on its own. Madagascar is not a popular destination in terms of numbers, because we nearly receive 300,000, yes, 300,000 tourists per year, and 2% of that is only American. So as you can see, you may be the one sending the odd 10,000 people to Madagascar. Madagascar is long as well, so it's about 1,600 kilometers long. And when I come back to what I said earlier, because of limited infrastructures, it would take you 2 days to go from Antananarivo to Tuliar, driving nonstop, and the same amount of time to get from Tana to Nusi Bay. For some of our trips, we sometimes get arrival in Nusi Bay, and cars needs to be mobilized from Tana. It takes the guys nearly 2.5, 3 days to get to Nusi Bay through the roads. So and that's not even 700 kilometers. So again, mainly this is why we vouch for private charters, 4x4, helicopter to cover terrain. Next slide, Aja.
Yeah, so I just want to come back to the last point on this slide, because that has really surprised our friends at Kusini. The USA and Canada each represent only like 2% of the tourism market share and tourism arrivals in Madagascar. So Americans don't even figure in the top 10 emitters for tourism. So that shows that there's a huge potential for you as agents and as operators. But it also means that, you know, Madagascar is not a known destination. It's definitely a destination you can brag about, and your clients will be able to brag about once they come back from Madagascar. That also proves that, you know, in terms of marketing, you will rarely see any ad about Madagascar. You know, don't expect anything coming from the tourism board. We've been fighting for that for the past 15 years. Get some support to promote Madagascar on the North American markets, and hopefully it is going to change. But so far, you know, the marketing will be done by Kusini, ourselves, the DMCs. So yeah, that's our role. It is to educate you, help you with the marketing, and most of the demand will actually come from the guests. They will be looking for their next destination. This is a destination for people who have a high level of maturity in terms of travel. it's for people who have been doing a safari, who've been to Asia, and who are looking for the next destination to go to. So we can compare ourselves to places like Bhutan, Sri Lanka, those places where tourism volume is really, really low. So why Madagascar? Like I mentioned earlier, we have 5% of the world's biodiversity, despite being such a small country. And the endemicity rate is very, very high, 90%, which means that 90% of living species you will see and observe in Madagascar can only be found in Madagascar. And our flagship species are the lemurs. This is the only place on Earth where you can observe the lemurs in the wild. The baobabs, 6 out of 7 baobabs in the world can be seen in Madagascar. 6 species of the seven species. One aspect we don't really talk about is the culture. Historically, the first settlers who arrived in Madagascar were actually coming from from Asia. So we had different waves of migration from Asia. So Indo-Malaysia, Africa, Arabic countries, and finally European countries during the colonization in the early 20th century. So that has created a very particular melting pot of culture and the different 18 tribes Zaka talked about earlier. So those are really the specifics of Madagascar. When you will be traveling around the country, you will have the feeling that you will be visiting different cultural spaces, and on top of the biodiversity, the wildlife, and the natural attractions. We can also mention the different landscapes, and we'll come back to that later. How do you rate Madagascar as classify Madagascar as a destination? This is a destination for active people. When you come to Madagascar, you need to be minimally physically fit, because in contrary to African countries or safari destination, when you arrive in Madagascar and when you go to a natural attraction, you will not be doing game drives. You will be taken to that national park or that reserve, and then you will have to go find the animals. Okay, the animals will not come to find you, so you may have to be to do a minimal of walking, a bit of hiking to get to see the species. Why Madagascar is also coming back to the tourist map, or actually emerging as a destination. This is the first time when Madagascar has 2 consecutive democratic elections without any troubles. So that means that we are finally, and we cross fingers, a stable country. And during the past few years, we've been having very positive press because brands are coming, larger brands like Radisson, Novotel, Ibis, Radisson Blu. They have opened properties in Madagascar, mainly the capital, but also there are lodges which have a bigger footprint in the region, have opened some lodges. We can talk about Time and Tide, Wild Expeditions, Voira. So those are bringing a lot of press, and again, the press and the publicity about Madagascar is coming from the private sector, not from the tourism board. Airlift. Zaka, you're the specialist on that.
Airlift. So how to get to Madagascar? There's no more excuses. Now we We have Air France, Ethiopian Airlines, Kenya Airways, Airlink, Turkish Airlines, Emirates, Eurostar, and Air Mauritius. We're about 11 hours from Europe, and of course, an extra 6-7 hours to the east coast of the US. Mainly when we get to Madagascar, you will need to use Johannesburg, and there's a Delta flight going from Johannesburg, from Atlanta straight to Johannesburg, Johannesburg to Madagascar on a daily flight. Ethiopian Airlines flies daily to Madagascar. Kenya Airways flies daily to Madagascar. Emirates, if you happen to be in the Middle East, or you have clients in the Middle East and Seychelles before, Madagascar can be an extension. And of course, Air Mauritius and Eurostar are the regional airlines that would bring additional guests to Madagascar. That is something that went from almost 0 to more than 10 airlines coming to Madagascar. And those same airlines also service, obviously, the international airports of Nosy Be. Speaking about access as well, we are trying to get more airlines coming to Madagascar, but we also feel that we can get more tourists if we add more frequencies to those airlines who don't usually fly daily, but on our dates. So I'm gonna jump on the best time to come to Madagascar. Like to say right from the bat that we are a year-round destination. Obviously, temperatures and rains will definitely change the access to some part of the island. But in the highs, we go up to 78 in winter, and lows to 50s. So Madagascar is really a tropical island. So the tropical climate throughout. Our high season, is mainly driven by also the school holidays. So it's going through July to the end of October. And our low season is mainly driven by seasonal and rain. So it starts to rain from November up to January. And then, of course, we also have a lower season in between, like we like to call it the shoulder season. But again, I just want to say that part of Madagascar, some part of the Madagascar are just flooded with water, and those areas are not accessible, but there are products that are open almost 12 months a year. They're accessible 12 months a year. And obviously, we have product in store for people wanting to travel during low season. We do have some wildlife migrations and can be visible in Madagascar, and we're going to talk about the humpback whales, which you can observe from July to September, and the whale shark, which you can also observe from October to December. Madagascar is a huge country, so obviously, when some areas are not accessible, some areas are open year-round, and we have areas in Madagascar where they proudly say that they have 360 days of sun out of 365, and that place is Nosy Be, for instance, where it's almost accessible throughout the year. Next.
Yeah. So we would like to deep dive into the key ecosystems and how we like to design trips at ASISTEN Travel, and how we like to showcase Madagascar. Remember, that's, I think, if you have to, one key takeaway after this presentation is it's the size of the country. Okay, it's an island, but it's the fourth biggest island in the world. From top to bottom, north to south, 1,600 kilometers, and from west to east, 600 kilometers. So that's huge. On top of that, you add the poor road and transport infrastructure. So that makes it a bit challenging to travel around the country. So when you want to discover Madagascar, and because of all the different biodiversity, what we want to show our guests and to you are the different key ecosystems. The main ecosystems, and they are like small sub ecosystems in the country, but the main ones, the ones people will be talking about and the ones people will hear about are the rainforest, the dry and spiny forest, the different geological formation, and the highland and marine coastal areas. So that's the beach. So we like to budget about 3 to 4 days per ecosystems in each itinerary. So you make your count. If a guest come to you and say, okay, I have, let's say, 12 days in Madagascar, you can say, okay, well, maybe you can go to 3 different ecosystems and pick the 3 you want to choose, because you don't want to be traveling. Well, it's possible. There are some DMCs, some operators who like to do that, but packing, unpacking, and spending like 10 hours on the road, or doing different flights in a single day, every single day during 12 days is not really the type of travel we like to promote. Obviously, we are doing bespoke travel. If your client insists on doing that, we'll do it, but that's not really our style. So first key ecosystem, because that's, I think, the most important, and why people would come to Madagascar, it's to see lemurs. And that's actually feasible as an extension to a safari in the region. Some of our customers like to do what they call a primate safari. They would go to Rwanda, see the gorillas, and then come to Madagascar for 4 or 5 days to observe the lemurs. So on the map here, you see the different ecosystems, and on the right here, in the green, that's the area where you have the rainforest. You see 4 points here. You have Andasibe, Maswala, Lukube, Amber Mountain. Those are the rainforest spots where we have some tourism infrastructure. And that's where actually we could send our guests if they want to experience the rainforest. So where you can go, Andasibe, Maswala, Amber Mountain, Lukube Reserve, what we will be doing, you can do some day walk and night walk. When we say day walk, it means that you may be having a light hike. It can be also a difficult hike. So we can really tailor-made the difficulty and the intensity of the walk depending on the need and the interest of your guests. On average, people like to be in the rainforest for a couple, 2 to 3 hours. When we organize photography trips, photographers, they like to spend the entire day in the forest. I think that happens to when Mark comes to Madagascar. That's the case. He's there with his big lens, and he doesn't want to go out. We have to take a picnic lunch. But most of our guests, they like to go earlier in the morning, find the animals, the birds, the lemurs, the different insect reptiles, and then after 3 hours, come back to the lodge, have a nice meal, relax at the spa, and then go out again at night to do a night walk. Why do you do a night walk? Because you will see different species you will not see during the day.
Right.
Aja, I was just gonna ask, can you just explain a little bit how those walks are in terms of the guides? Will they have your assistant guide with them, or is it someone from the park? How does that work?
Yeah. So most of the national parks are managed by Madagascar, an entity called Madagascar National Park. By law and by regulation, every time you get into a national park, you need to have a park ranger or a national park, Madagascar National Park guide. So despite the fact that we do provide a driver guide or a guide who will take you to that park, once you get to that park, you need to have a person to take you into the park. And that person is actually he brings value because he is a real specialist, and they are excellent spotters. Our driver guides and guides may not be able to know where the different families of indri or different species of reptiles are located during that day, because the goal is to get to a park and observe the species. You may have a single chance to do that during your trip, so better to have a guide from the national park to take you to the right place at the right time. Yeah. So lemurs, we have more than 100 species of lemurs in Madagascar. I think the latest count is about 111, and up until today, we are still discovering new species of lemurs and animals in Madagascar. But one of the most famous lemur is actually the indri. That's the largest lemur, and it can only be found in the Andasibe National Park. So Andasibe National Park is actually the most accessible rainforest park in Madagascar, because it's only located about 4 hours drive from the capital. And that species of lemur, the indri, it cannot be found in captivity. So it will not survive in captivity. The only way to see it is to come to Madagascar and get to that specific national park. So the lemurs, you have the ruffed lemur, the bamboo lemur, the lemur kata. We can talk about that a bit later. But each lemur has its specific habitat. So if you want to see different species of lemurs, you may have to travel around the country. So I will pass through different pictures of wildlife here. Here's a Madagascar chameleon. We can talk about the small five. In Africa, you have the big five, but we also have our giraffe weevil. So the small five are the lemurs, the giraffe weevil, the different species. So where will your guests stay when they go to the rainforest? Masola Forest Lodge, which is owned by Wild Expedition. You will hear about them. There's some press, good articles about them in the different press. Manjaranu, that's on Andasibe. You will barely hear about them. Those are properties which don't do any marketing. So we will be the one who will be advising you about the right place to send your guests to. Mantadia Lodge, that's also in Andasibe. And those type of boutique lodge, that didn't exist about 7 years ago. The landscape in terms of accommodation have really evolved and have really improved. Zach, I would like to add something about the.
No, I think we can do that in the Q&A, and I see that there's a couple of questions already. I also see the time running, so I'll try to speed up as well, because we still need to cover 3 additional ecosystem. Let's move to the dry and spiny forest. So the dry spiny forests are more likely to be on the west coast of Madagascar. So the west coast of Madagascar is the dry part of the country, and those are obviously places where you would see a different type of wildlife. As I mentioned earlier, that lemurs are also very adaptive animals. So those are animals that quickly adapt compared to their related to their environment. So imagine that those lemurs can jump on those spiny trees, and they have special feet and hands that can handle spine. So the spiny forest is mainly on the south of Madagascar, as mentioned earlier, and you will probably hear about Manjare, Timanampitunta, or Berenti. And of course, we can also talk about the west of Madagascar, where we have Anjajavi, Kirindi, or Namork. And obviously, we also have the spiny forests that are lows around the Morondava area, where you would see some baobabs and some ringtail lemurs. One animal that really, is very asked is the fusa, which is our big cat. It's as big as a puma. That is, unfortunately it's a very endangered species, because basically they go and kill the poultry, so the farmers they try to get them away. But we have specimens that still live in the Kirini areas. We've seen places like even in the Andasi Bay region where they are still visible. Anjajavi and Namorka have reported fusas to be seen within their location. So again, if you have guests wishing to see specifically those animals, we will have to send them in the dry and spiny forests of Madagascar. So as I earlier talked about the rainforest, where you would see a good chunk of nocturnal and diurnal lemurs, and you will see a different type of lemurs, and obviously our big cat or fusa in the dry spiny forest. In those dry spiny forests, and again, we can talk about the accommodations. We would send them in places, and this is also where you would see obviously the baobab trees. And I want to pause here because Morondava is definitely known for the Baobab Alley, that iconic postal card where people think it's worth it. It's located in Morondava, but the entire west coast of Madagascar, coming from the north to the south of Madagascar, is full of baobabs. This one is just the one that is very known by the public, that is on every postal card, but you can see baobabs in Manjare, you would see baobabs in the north, in Diego, you will see baobabs in Anjajavi. So if seeing baobabs is one of the part of the checklist, you really don't have to go always to Morondava. You can actually go somewhere on the west coast of Madagascar, from the north to the south. And we have within those areas great locations where we can send our guests. And if I'm not mistaken, we can send them to Anjajavi, which is a relay chateau, where we have 24 villas. We can send them to Manjare River Camp, which on the bank of the Ifutaka River down south of Madagascar. We can also send them to Palisson Côte Ouest, which is the accommodation, very acceptable accommodation within the Alley of Baobab. That is also the location that we would suggest if you want to go to see the Kirindi forest. And again, remember, Kirindi is where you would have chances to see the fusas. And fusas, when it's when they're active, when they're more active, and of course Anacostia Lodge, which is down south, which is also on the coastal region of the south of Madagascar. Those Anacostia Lodge, for instance, and we'll stop here, Aja. Anacostia Lodge is close to the Timanampitunta National Park. And this is a park where you would see flamingos, If you guys want to see flamingos, yes, we do have flamingos in Madagascar. This is also where you would see one species of baobab, that is the bottle one, the very short one. So that is the type of baobabs that you would see
This one.
as well in the giant spiny forest. This one, and the one that is very famous, again, as I said, 6 out of the 7 of the baobabs in the world can be seen in Madagascar, and I think this one is the one that you can also see in Africa. That I've seen that baobab while touring in Africa. So the tall ones are obviously the very popular, the Grand Didier. So this is the one you would see on every postal card. Moving up to the geological formation, you take give you the floor, Aja.
Yeah, geological formation. That's the third ecosystems people will be asking about. So what is a geological formation? It can be seen as a huge space. This, for instance, Isalo, which you can see here, in the south of Madagascar. So it's like very similar to the Grand Canyon. We can compare it to the Grand Canyon, and the other geological formation you can be requested to visit is some thingy. So those are the limestone forests. They are only accessible between May and November. Why? Because the road getting to the different thingy are actually flooded. So you have the thingy of Bemara, thingy of Ankarana, the thingy of Namorka. So there are different places in Madagascar where you can observe thingy. The most famous is the thingy of Bemara, but now we can go also visit the thingy of Namorka. You may have heard about the Namorka thingy camp, which has just opened the past year, or the thingy of Ankarana in the north. There are other areas where you can see thingy at a smaller scale, like in Anjanjavi. So Anjanjavi can actually be a place where you can see some lemurs, some thingy, enjoy the beach, see some baobabs. So it can be considered also as a complete small destination within Madagascar. But those limestone forests, they are really impressive. If you are minimally fit, you'll be able to fully enjoy the experience. Suspended bridge, hike up to the thingy. It doesn't require any type of skill. I'm afraid of height, but with a little bit of assistance and closing my eyes at some point, it's very, very, very doable. So this is the Isalu National Park in the south of Madagascar. If I'm not mistaken, it's the most visited national park in Madagascar. We have to check the figures for 2024, but I think it's very neck and neck with the Andasi Bay National Park, the rainforest, in terms of number of visitors. There's the red thingy, which can be seen in the north. That is not stone. It's actually sand. So it's a result of erosion. We can quickly jump on the different accommodation options. Again, very nice boutique lodges around the country and around those places. We want to make sure that your guests sleep at the right lodge. We only select about 2 to 3 number of lodges per location. In some locations there is only one option, and if we feel that a location doesn't have the right accommodation level, we will definitely let you know. But those are the ones which have been tried and tested. Isalo Rock Lodge, Jardin du Roi also in Isalo, Soleil des Tsingi in the Tsingi of Bemara, Yarana Bush Camp near Ankarana, and the new kid on the block, Namurka Tsingy Camp, which is the only option in Namurka. That covers very quickly the different geological formation, but being a beach, we also have to talk about the marine coastal areas, because we have almost 5,000 kilometers of beach. So what can you do actually on an island? You can enjoy, do some farniente, but also do some diving, snorkeling, kite surfing. Madagascar is a big kite surfing destination. There are some surf spots, very well-known surf spots in Madagascar, very much uncrowded. This is not like Bali, but you know, there are different possibilities. We've talked about migration, whale sharks between October and December, humpback whales from July to October as well. Beautiful water, some private islands. If you want to do some kayaking, and split your day between maybe going to the rainforest in Nusibe in the morning, or in Maswala, and then in the afternoon enjoy the beach. It's very much enjoy the beach and the water. It's very much possible. Where to stay? That's where we have, I would say, the crown jewel of Madagascar. You know, Miavana Time and Tide. They've been doing massive marketing during the past few years. Great partner of us. We are really fortunate to have them. Princess Boa Lodge, very, I would say, much underrated, but a great property. Voira is new. A lot of press about them in the nice magazines lately. Tsarakumba, which has been taken over by Time and Tide, and which is part of the family as well now. Constance Charabangina, which is a Constance hotel and a private island, one of the major brands in the region. So yeah, I think that would be it about Madagascar in general. Madagascar 101. We shall have time for some questions, and I'm sure there will be plenty.
Yep, we've seen some in the chat box already, Aja, and I'm going to just respond to Gretchen. She's asking about the minimum rate per day and ideas of itineraries, and I think we can also take some time to speak about doable itinerary, but to our global audience. Madagascar is we can start Madagascar by ASISTEN Travel. We can start by budgeting $350 per person per day. That is when you get with some of those lodges, excluding obviously the ones like Miavana or the use of private plane, because when you use private charters, that price goes really up the roof. Miavana Time and Tide is a $3,700 per person per day property. So that also gives you an idea of what's available in the country. Some of the properties that we mentioned earlier are selling for less than $200 a night, and you have the extreme where it's over 3,000. So there's a lot in between. But there are also, the logistics that get involved, and that can bring the cost up. But as a rule of thumb, and because you have a limited amount of stay, you can start with minimum $350 per person per day, and that goes up according to the add-ons that you may have. One very popular itineraries that we like to promote is, of course, our Madagascar Flying Safari, where you would connect to all those ecosystem with a plane. So imagine driving to Andasibe, which is on the east coast of Madagascar. Flying safari, you can take that one. Then flying to Morondava or to the Tsingy, so you can see the geological formation. You can stop by Isalu, where you would see another geological formation with Isalu Rock Lodge, for instance, and then you can finish off with one of the beach stay in the north. So again, you will see the rainforest, and the map there is covering that. So you would see the rainforest, you would see the dry spiny forest, and you will also have a beach stay at the end. So this gives you an idea of what's available, and that obviously is a mix of plane plus car, and our car will wait for the guests at every destination. So that to give you, and this is obviously available to the trade and available on the agent page of Kusini. Though the starting price for that it goes up to $8,000. So you see there that it's a $1,000 per night trip, for instance. And we can also go through something very simple like Anjajavi, where most of the cost would be around the property itself, but the property itself is roughly six. And that's Anjajavi, for instance. Yeah, that is a very well known and a very good itinerary for first timers. Not really physical, because as I mentioned earlier, we can see lemurs, we can see baobabs, we can see chameleons, tortoises, tingis within eight nights, and that is starting at $4,600 per person on an 8-day trip, and that includes private charter. So it gives you an idea of the budget you may have. And if you look at those numbers, I mean, we are considered as cheap compared to a safari destination like Botswana or South Africa or even Kenya on a per day per person. But for us, Madagascar as a destination, which we can still qualify as complicated, you need the expertise of a DMC, of someone that knows the destination, that knows the tricks of the destination, because we are on the ground.
Yeah, and just to add to that, to what Njaka was saying, Anjajavi really kind of simplifies things a lot. If you want to kind of a Madagascar confined to something where you'll see everything with great food, great value for money, and getting that luxury relay and chateau level. I sold it a lot when I was selling Madagascar back in the days, and it's nice to see that they're still continuing that. So I'm a big fan.
Mark, can you just show us on the map where we are with
Yeah, sure. Let me just.
Correct. That's it. So Anjajavi is on the
Can you
west.
zoom in, Mark?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Over here. You see it?
Yeah. Correct. You see that? We see Dar es Salaam, but here we go.
Yeah.
So that is one very popular itinerary for first timers. That is complete. But obviously, I mean, we can tweak around those, and if our guests have more days on ground, we can add an additional ecosystem easily. And another questions, we do accommodate for twins as well in Madagascar. So if friends are traveling, we do offer 2 beds, but that needs to be given and requested at the time of booking, because obviously friends can share one room, and we can ask for twin configuration in some of the properties. It's only some properties will have limitations and say we don't have twins. I'm sorry, and this is where you would have 2 separate rooms. But most of the properties in Madagascar they do accommodate for twins, and you can travel with friends. If you have any additional question, guys, this is the time. we're gonna repeat it again. Ads and myself are very involved in the business. Ads is close to your time zone. He's based in Eastern Canada, so he's really close by. And if you need anything specific and you happen to be waking up at working at 9 o'clock, you will still catch me because it will be my afternoon.
There's one question here, Nzaka, about the guides.
Yeah.
Do you have the same guide throughout the entire tour? So maybe just
Oh,
talk a little bit how you
Unicorn.
do with guiding, how that works.
Sure. We can have a guide throughout. So basically, that would be, I would say, an escorting guide. So you can have a guide throughout the trip. But we also need to make a difference between what we call a driver slash guide, because you have someone doing the transfers and the road with you. But sometimes that person is not taking the plane with you. So it would be another guide, another driver guide on the other end. So that Nicole's respond to that questions. But some of our guests request someone to be with them throughout, and obviously it's an additional cost. But it's possible. Anything is possible. You can have the same person throughout because people don't want to have that the vibe to start from the beginning of the trip till the end. But we also can have excellent driver guides for each section of the trip, because obviously the guys will drive you from one section and someone will take over for the next one.
And do you also utilize in some cases the guides from the individual lodges?
We only do that once they have the level. So I would say lodges like Anjajavi, Manjari, Miavana, they have their own guiding team on site. But when they don't have, we send a guide with us, with the guest, and that guy will have the knowledge of the destination itself. But usually, and they are complementary. So we've been sending guests that wanted to have someone at Manjari. It will be still an additional expertise, because the guide we'll be sending with will give an additional lecture at the end of the day. Will do the cross mark with the species they found. Give an additional explanation. Everything that can elevate the experience. Yes, some female guides are starting to appear. There are a couple of lodges that do have female guides. Even us, we do have female guides, but it's still very rare. But we're making good progress in getting female guide involved into tourism. It's also a matter of interest, and now the tourism is one of the driving sector of our economy. There are more and more people that are wanted to get into there, and women are encouraged to become part of that journey.
You mentioned that Nosy Be is accessible throughout the year. So I know that the high season being July through November is when you see most of your visitors, at least from North America. But can you talk a little bit about that accessibility in the low season? Is it just Nosy Be, and are there other ways to explore in the low season, and where is it not possible?
Can you just zoom in at the same map, Mark or Aja? So Nosy Be just above Anjajavi.
Here, Aja, you can share your screen. I'm going to stop mine. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one. So Anjajavi's Nosy Be is right there. So it's a small island within Madagascar as well, and roads are great. And he has top properties, and they don't close. So that is, for instance, a location that has one national park nearby, the Luku Bay Reserve, but it's also a place where it's surrounded by water and sea, so marine activities are doable. Rule of thumb, Tad, is when you can access it by roads or by plane, it's available. So I can tell you, Nalu is available, and Dasibe National Park is available. What we don't say enough about Madagascar is when it rains, because you go into a rainforest, everything is green. There is food for animals, so they are more active. They don't hide. They don't even hibernate. So they are, you can see a lot of action during rainy season, especially when it comes to wildlife and places like Andasibe, Isalu National Park, Tuliar. Those are places that you can do throughout. Mark loves this itinerary, but the National Road 7 is used year round. So obviously, none of the properties even close for 1 month during for that route. But if you go to Tingi, as I said earlier, roads are flooded. The caves are full with water, so you can even hike within the Tingi because there's water in there. So there's no need to go there because water are clogging the mazes and the tunnels, which usually used to get through the Tingi and visit them. So that makes it difficult to see. We like to say that nature is doing a job, and this is a small break that those hoteliers have as well, and say, listen, you can't come to see us. We're going to use that time to give a break to our team and start over in May. And the Tingi, for instance, is only accessible from May to November, and as soon as it rains, it becomes really difficult. You need to know as well that roads access to those parts are not tarred road, and the average speed in Madagascar is roughly 50 kilometers or 25 miles per hour. So imagine, the distance you need to cover to get into those muddy roads, and you can't just go there during the rainy season. So that's my 2 cents about access during low season, and usually we call it low season because now it rains and people are not interested in coming to that part of the world. But we like to say it's also great to come because one, you have exclusivity. You don't see a lot of people coming through. So you have your own beach. You have access to the national parks with very limited amount of visitors. As I told you earlier, for instance, that Isalu National Park is the most visited national park of Madagascar. But I've checked on the entries, and it's less than 50,000 entries per year. So can you imagine? You'll be in a place where you would be by yourself with your guide, seeing the wildlife just for you.
And just related quickly back to Gretchen's question about heat, it's always it's a common question from Americans going to Africa. Is when is it going to be so hot that I can't do anything? How do you answer that in terms of managing the temperature time of year?
The country is so huge that we have different, I would say, microclimate. I think when it's hot in Madagascar, I think the hottest period is January and February. That's when I would say you have to choose wisely where you are going or where you are going to send your guests to. First thing is the right choice of lodge. We make sure that we send the guests to lodges which have aircon, and also for the activities. We want to make sure that the activities are taking place early in the day, and then because the animals when it's also hot, they are like humans. They take it easy. So early in the day, you go find the lemurs, all the reptiles, and then do it again at the end of the day with a nice early evening walk.
Sure. If we wanted to hear about month, Tad, right now, as moment we speak, February, March is one of the hottest time in Madagascar as well, and it's gonna start to be cooler as well in throughout the year, and we're gonna have another surge of temperature in October. So those are the months where it's quite hot, and again, falls down rainy season, and then heat again. But a rule of thumb, when it's very cold out there, where you are, it's very hot where we are. So it's that's very simple. So that's why July is also one of the popular time of the year in Madagascar. It's really tropical. It's nice. It's not too cold. It's not too hot. And this is why also it's busy because obviously it's really one of the best time to come. And you've seen the migrations that can be observed from July to October, and that makes our peak season. And because of the limited amount of rooms available, if you have guests wanting to travel during that time, now we like to say we need to plan a good 6 to 1 year in advance, especially if you want to think of July to October. Obviously, we may be lucky and find rooms, but this is where we have a lot of influx of tourists, and we have most of our tourism influx during that time.
Jack,
Do we need
we'll wrap up just a couple
travel?
more, more questions actually. One from Nicole, and I had this problem when I was selling. Can you fly from the different areas of the country without having to go back to Tana? Is that now the case? How's that like?
If you fly private, you don't have to fly in between. But Mark, they are starting to get now what we call transversal routes. But as far as of today, we still need to go through the main hub of Tana. I know from the fact that we are launching flights now from Tuliar straight to Nusibe. And those are things that are going to get out for the summer. But we also came from far with that national airlines of ours, and this is why they needed to have flights going through Tana, which is the main hub. But we're also happy now to say that we have connecting flights with the Air France and Emirates schedule. So let's say you fly with Air France, you land or Delta, which is the codeshare of Air France. You arrive in Tana, you don't have to spend a night even. You can also go straight to a destination because they align that schedule to fit that. But if you fly private, of course you can skip Tana. But if you fly commercial, you will likely to go through the main hub, which is where the domestic airline has its headquarters.
And we are going to help you to build the itinerary in the smartest way as possible to minimize the downtime and to dead nights in the capital.
Yeah. Another questions, do you need any shots or visa to travel to Madagascar? So there's a simple rule for Madagascar. Any foreigners needs to have a visa to get into Madagascar, but that visa on arrival. For stays less than 15 days, it's $10 or 10 euros. And for stays over 15 days, it's 35 euros. That can be payable on site with a credit card, and that's easy. Any shots? Not really anything that is mandatory. We're very just cautious about yellow fever. So if you've done, let's say, Kenya or a yellow fever prone destination, Madagascar health authorities request either a yellow fever certificates or vaccine before you enter Madagascar. That's it. The rest, obviously, we at the beginning of this, and this is something that Madagascar can also be proud. The tourism sector, almost the tourism value chain, is vaccinated against COVID, but that is history now.
I think, as always, we recommend you and your guests consult their local travel doctors and travel authorities as well. So check out the CDC, check out the equivalent in Canada, etc., and see what they recommend.
Cool. I think that's it, eh?
Yeah, so we our contact details will be shared on the Kusini website in the space, so you'll be able to reach out to us directly. If the sample itineraries, the link to the sample itineraries will be there, and feel free to shoot an email if you need anything.
Thank you, guys. This was great. I learned a
That
lot.
was great.
Thank you, everyone.
So much.
We
had a
are
great
really
time
excited to be in the family now.
Thank you for the warm welcome, guys, and we hope to hear your faces and see your names in an email very shortly. If you need anything regarding Madagascar, you have those amazing guys from Kusini, Mark and Tad, and of course we are here, as of myself, very involved. Thank you, guys.
And Gretchen too. Don't forget Gretchen.
Yeah,
Leader.
Gretchen.
She keeps
Thanks,
us all on
Dad.
track.
Sorry, my bad.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.